Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya. For those of you that are new here, I'm a watercolor artist. So we're officially November, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and I was inspired to paint a very whimsical, very easy turkey for you. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so to get started, I've got my Arches watercolor paper. I have my pencil, my eraser, and I've got some of my Arteza watercolor brush pens. And I'll let you know what color I'm using as I'm going along if you wanted to follow along. But if you don't have these or you have a different brand, just use whatever color you want. This is just supposed to be a fun, whimsical turkey. So nothing, you don't need to follow along exactly. You can make this your painting. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a little head right about there. And I don't wanna go too far up because I want his little feathers to be nice and tall. So I'm just gonna make a little head right there. And I'm gonna make a fat little body, make him a nice fat turkey. So I'm just doing circles. And be as sketchy about this as you want. It doesn't matter. You can lighten it up, you can erase it, it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start with the top feather first, coming right off his head, like that. And then I'm just gonna go around and make these like little teardrop shapes here going right off his body. And you can make these as long as you want. And I'm going to come down probably to like half of his little stomach here, just about half. I'm not going to go all the way down. And then I'm going to put on his little legs. I'm going to do like two little humps here. And I'm just going to come down and do some little claws. Now for his little face, I'm just gonna do really simple, just two circles for his eyes. I'm gonna do a beak, and then I'm gonna do that little part that comes down right there. And we can do some detail in here a little bit later with the markers, but right now that's pretty much all we're gonna draw, just like that. So I'm gonna pick up, let's see, like I said, I had my Arteza watercolor brush pens. I'm gonna pick up Walnut Brown first. And if you don't have these, don't worry about it. Pick up whatever watercolor brush pens you have. I'm gonna go carefully around his little eyes. I'm gonna start filling in his head. Oh, one thing that we did forget to do here is his little neck. So off of his little circle here, just kind of bring down a little neck and then just kind of do like a little circle. This is like where it's connected. So, because turkeys have nice long necks. So that is one thing I forgot to do. So just bring down a neck and then just round it off, okay? All right, so we're gonna go back with our walnut brown, go around his eyes. And you don't have to fill in the whole thing because once you apply the water, it will be filling in. So you don't have to do the whole thing. I'm gonna leave his neck alone at this point because I want it to be more of a reddish color. So I'm gonna pick up it's just red, and I'm gonna be filling that in, go around his beak, and then that little, I forgot what that little thing is called off the nose there, but I'm gonna do that red as well. Okay. And I'm gonna do his little beak. This is sunset yellow, so it's kind of a golden yellow. It's not too bright. All right, now I've got my Grumbacher paintbrushes. I have a size 5, a 7, and a 0. And I'm gonna pick up the 0 right now. I'm gonna get it wet, and I'm gonna carefully go over his little beak. I'm gonna do the lighter parts first. So the lightest part that I have right now is the yellow. And then I'm gonna bring in that red, and they may bleed together because I'm doing them at the same time, but you can always blow dry this or give it a second to dry, but I'm not. I'm just gonna let them bleed into each other. It doesn't, to me, I like when they bleed into each other. I think it looks really, really nice. And I'm gonna go around his eyes again with just water. I'm gonna start filling in all those little empty spots because we didn't fill in all the way with the brown. And the reason I didn't do that is because I like when there's lights and darks, and where the white of the paper is showing, it's gonna be a little bit lighter once that brown goes over it. And where you actually applied the watercolor marker is gonna be darker. So I'm not sure you can see this on camera, but there's lights and darks of my brown in there. So that's why I had some of the white of the paper still showing. I did not want it to be solid. All right, I am gonna pick up, I really like this color, teal, and I'm gonna start with his first feather. And I'm just gonna kind of come in and outline it. If you think that the pencil marks are, getting in the way and they're a little too dark, just go ahead and erase them or lighten them up. I'm going to leave mine nice and dark just so you can see them on the camera. And I'm going to just kind of feather it up a little bit. So I applied more of the paint down here towards his body, towards his head and his body. And as I go up the feather, I'm just feathering it out a little bit like this. I want it to be lighter up there. Now I'm going to take my sunset yellow again, and I'm going to bring in a little of that sunset yellow towards the tip of the feather. Right there. And let's apply the paint. I'm picking up my size 5 Grumbacher paintbrush, and I'm going to start with the dark, and I'm going to just pull it up. Pull up that paint. I'm going to go around. I did not touch the yellow yet. I'm going to wash off my brush because there's probably a lot of teal on my brush. So I'm going to wash it off, just pick up some water, and I'm going to just apply the water to the yellow part, and I'm going to let them bleed into each other. Just like that. Okay, we're gonna let that dry nicely. And let's see, the next one I'm gonna do, I will pull in this orange. What is it? It's cadmium orange. And now this is still wet, so they may, as the two colors are bumping up to each other, it may bleed a little bit. I don't mind that. If you do, go ahead and dry that feather, or you can switch and do like a feather down and then go back up if you want to, just to let that one dry a little bit. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just going to apply most of my ink, my paint, more towards the middle here by his body and his head, and I'm gonna feather it up. I'm gonna take that yellow again because I really like the way that looks. And I'm gonna apply that sunset yellow again, just at the tip. Okay. I'm going to take my size 5 again and get it wet. Start by down towards his head. I'm going to feather that paint up. Go around the yellow and then wipe off your brush, clean it off so you get some of that orange off there, and just apply it to that yellow. So you have a nice bright yellow at the tip of his feather. Now, as I was saying before, my green was still wet, my teal was still wet, so it's bleeding into each other. I don't mind that. It looks like a shadow and I really like it. But if you do mind that, skip over to the next feather and just keep one like empty in the middle and then go back to that when that first feather is dry. If you don't mind it, just keep going on. I'm gonna pick up a green. The green I've got here is called olive green. And I'm assuming it's going to bleed in just like it did there because my orange is still wet. I'm going to go around that little feather, apply most of my paint down towards his body and his head, and I'm going to feather it up again. Okay. I'm going to take that sunset yellow again. And if you don't want to do yellow on the tips, choose whatever color you want. I just really like the way that yellow looks at the tip here. Take my size 5 again and just blend that paint up. I'm going to go around the feather like that, clean off my brush, and then feather that yellow back down so those two colors bump up to each other. Okay. The next one I'm going to do is, I'll just do a whole feather here of just the yellow. So I'm taking my yellow, and this one I am going to actually just bring the yellow all the way up. So I'm going to take my marker here. I'm going to apply most of my ink, most of my paint towards the middle here. I'm going to feather it up, but I'm going to feather it up all the way. So I'm still leaving it lighter up towards the top, but I am going all the way up with it. So carry your paint from the base all the way up. And you can just continue that all the way around your little turkey. Use whatever colors you want. I think the next color I'm going to do is more of a wine red. I'm going to switch to my size 0 as my feathers get smaller and smaller as I get more towards the bottom. My feathers are getting smaller, so I'm switching my brush size to a size 0. You can switch to any size brush you want. If you don't have a 0, move to a 1 or a 2. And just keep doing the same process over and over again. And it's really bleeding into my yellow here, but I'm loving the way that looks, so it does not bother me at all. Okay, so I went and I did all my little feathers, and I'm going to pick up a black now, and I'm going to just put in his little eyes. If you want to leave a little highlight, you can. If you feel like it's too small and you can't leave a little highlight, we can always go back in with a little bleed proof white at the end and put in a little bit of white at the end. I'm going to take a little bit of my black also, and I'm just going to kind of outline his beak a little bit, just very, very lightly with the just the tip of the brush pen. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to do his little body now. So the colors I'm going to do are that dark brown that we did for his head, and I'm just going to kind of outline the circle here, and it's very grainy, especially on the Arches watercolor paper. The bigger surface you do, you're going to see a lot of white. The faster you go, you're going to see a lot of white. If you take your time and you go slowly, you will cover up some of that paper more and you won't have as much white. So it just depends on what speed you're going. If you want to go really fast like this, see how much white you're going to be showing? A lot of white. It's going to be really grainy, which is okay because this is the feathery, these are, you know, the feathery part of his body as well. So I don't really mind giving it a lot of texture down there. I'm gonna fill in just those little like parts of his legs, the top part of the legs, the chubbier part I should say, and just outline it really nicely. So I put a little bit more of the paint, of the ink, on the edges of his body. And I left the middle a little bit whiter. And I did that on purpose to give him a little bit of a highlight. I am going to take that same sunset yellow and I'm going to bring in a little of that sunset yellow more towards the middle of his little body right here. Like that. And I also want to add in a little bit of that red, that wine red that we had done up here, because I love that wine red. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of that wine red down here. So I have not applied water yet. I just applied 3 colors. Okay, I did the wine red over the brown, more towards the bottom here. And I did a little bit of that yellow right under his little neck, around his neck. Now I'm going to apply the water. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take my bigger brush this time. I'm going to take my size 7 just because this is a bigger part of the painting. So I'm just taking some water and I'm going to just gently go around him. Try to make him as crisp as you can. Go around his little legs. So this was the darker part of his little body. Now my feathers are still damp, so it may start to bleed into my feathers a little bit. I'm totally fine with that. Again, if you're not, go ahead and blow dry your painting. And actually, I'm hoping that it does bleed up a little bit into my feathers. I cleaned off my brush and now I'm going to go over that yellow again. So it was just like we did with the tips of the feathers. We cleaned off our brush and then we brought the yellow down. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to bring a little bit of that yellow down. I do want them to blend into each other, so I'm going to bring a little of that brown back up. Just play around with it till you get it to the look that you like. I just wanted to leave a little bit more of a highlight on this part of his little body. All right, now I'm going to go back to my size 5 and I'm going to start pulling up a little bit of that brown into the feathers. Give it a little bit more of a shadow. Now I'm not going all the way up. I'm just going on the beginning where the feather and the body touch. And I'm feathering it in with just water. And actually I'm almost dry brushing it because the body is still so wet that I didn't really need to apply that much water to it. Now I didn't have that much water on his head here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more of that brown on his head, so I could bring that up as well. Okay, just like that. I just kind of outlined his head a little bit. Again, with a damp brush, I'm going to bleed that up into those feathers. And if it's not working that well, you can always go ahead and apply a little bit of brown if you want to onto the feather itself. But I think it's doing its job. All right, we're gonna let that dry a second. We're gonna take our black. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually take my archival ink. If you have an archival ink pen, I'm using the Micron size. Actually, I'll use the size 3. If you have this, great. And if you don't, you can use any pen or marker that you want. I'm just gonna do his little legs here while we let his body dry a little bit. So I'm just gonna do a little line coming down for his little legs and just a couple little claws. Just very generic little claws. I'm gonna do about 4 of them. Now I'm gonna go and kind of go around his neck a little bit and crispen up his beak. You can crispen up that little red gobbly thing on the side here. You can fill in his eyes a little bit more. If the eyes were just a little too small for you, you can go ahead and go over the eyes a little bit. All right, so at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give a little bit of ground down here. So I'm gonna take, let's take a different brown. I've got my coffee brown here. So I'm just gonna kind of go over it. See how I'm going really fast over it, over the paper, and I'm leaving it nice and grainy. If you wanna give it that look and you wanna just leave it like that, that's perfect. If you wanna go over it with a brush and just blend it in a little bit, you can do that too. I'm just going in with just a little bit of water, and I'm blending it in. And you can blend it up, you can blend it over, however much you want. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dry my turkey because I wanna put in some detail here, but I can't do that until he's dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry him. Okay, so my turkey is nice and dry. And I think at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my archival ink pen one more time, and I'm gonna put in some little designs. I'm even gonna go around his feathers, and it could be a broken up line, just like that. See, I'm just kind of outlining it. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to, but I always think it just adds a little extra interest if you use a little bit of pen at the end. Just a little line work. I love when I see line work on top of watercolor. It's just the contrast of the both. I just really like that look. So I'm just outlining the feathers, just like that. And I apologize if my hand is in the way. I'm trying the best I can not to have my hand in the way as I'm drawing this. Okay. I'm going to go around his little body the best I can. All right. If you want to go in and you want to do some really cute little designs, you can definitely do that. I'm going to take my archival ink, bleed proof. I'm not archival ink. I'm going to take my Dr. Martin's bleed proof white, and I'm going to take a generic brush. I don't want to really use one of my good brushes, so I'm just taking a generic brush, and I am going to, actually I'm going to use the end of the brush here, and I'm going to make some polka dots with the white. And I'm not going to do them on every, I think I'm going to do them on every other feather here. So you can make any designs you want. If you want to make stripes, if you want to make polka dots, swirls, it just adds a little extra whimsy to the painting. Oh, and look what I forgot to do. I forgot to do a teal on this side. I just noticed that. I don't have a teal on that side. That's totally fine. I guess I could go back in and pop in a teal down here, but I don't really want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some polka dots just like that on the orange also. There. All right, wash off your brush and just put a couple little highlights if you want to on his eyes. I'm just putting a little dot on each eye, just like that. And I might put a little bit of white down his neck, his little beak, just to pop his little features a little bit. And I think another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some kind of like little ruffle here coming down his body like that. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. I just like to make mine very whimsical and colorful, very fun looking. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add this like little scallop edge on his body. You could stop right there. You can go all the way down. Doesn't really matter. And I think I'm just going to add it all the way down. I just kind of think that's really, really, really cute. Super cute. Wash off your brush. And I think I'm done with my bleed proof white. So I'm going to close that up because this stuff dries out really fast. And if you want, when this dries, I have some metallic-y paint. I have gold paint. You can make this really, really fun and whimsical. I think I'm going to add a little bit of some glitter, some metallic-y paint on some of his feathers just to make them pop and shine a little bit more. But I'm not going to do that until after I blow dry this because the white will smear. So I think at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wash with just my regular watercolors. And I want to put some color in the background. I think I'm going to take this terracotta color that I had already on my palette. And I'm going to make a nice wash here, a nice big puddle. And I'm going to take another paintbrush and I'm just going to tap it. Just to give a little bit of texture in the background. You could do as much or as little as you want. That's cute. You could take a brush and you can fill it in a little bit and smear it out a little bit if you want to, but I like the texture of the polka dots, so I'm just gonna leave it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna blow dry this, and then I will add a little bit of that glittery metallic paint to his feathers. Okay, so I have some of this. I don't really even know where I got this. It's just a metallic-y little sparkly paint. So I like I said, I have no idea. Someone might have even given this to me years ago. So this is just what I have on hand. But use whatever metallic watercolor paint or acrylic paint or anything that you've got. And I'm just going to apply a little bit, mix it up because sometimes that glitter goes to the bottom. And I'm just going to apply a little bit to his feathers here. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but it is making this beautiful, sparkly texture on just his feathers. I love that. And what else I'm going to do is I have some gold metallic paint. It's like acrylic ink. And this is just generic also. It's Daler and Rowney. I mean, you could pick this up anywhere. I don't even know. I might have got this at Walmart. I'm not even sure. I'm just going to take a little bit of it, just a little with my little brush here. And I just want to add a little bit of gold right on his beak, just so it's like a golden little beak. So cute. Now, if you got rid of a little bit of that highlight that we had made with our bleed proof white, just let it dry and you can just add that white highlight on his beak one more time. But there he is. I think he's so cute. So it's just a fun, whimsical, very, very easy little turkey for Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up and you can make a comment in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. Have a great day. Bye.